Week 17 is upon us. Let's rip it. What is going on, everybody? Week 16 is in the books. We are on to week 17. Some of the things we're going to be talking about today are the week 17 games, the things we talked about all summer. Which players do you want on your teams? Where's your leverage at? What happened week 16? We're going to be talking about format. GM to you, Ashton. How you doing, man? Happy holidays. We're going to be talking about, I see people on twitter.com complaining, ooh, the format. We don't like the format. It's not fair. It's not fair. Give me a break on that. We're going to talk about that. I'm all for suggestions. However, results-oriented complaining. Come on now. Hey, welcome, Twitch fam. We're live on Twitch at Liam Murphy Live. We're trying to get up and running on Twitch. Might even get up and running on Apple Podcasts soon here. Going to have lots of exciting off-season content here. So, hey, Twitch fam, let's go. Going to have a lot of exciting off-season best ball content here. So you don't want to miss out. Make sure you hit the like button. You hit the subscription button so that you can crush 2023 best ball. Before we get going on today, wanted to do a little content FYI. I am going skiing tomorrow, going on a ski trip tomorrow. So going to go watch the week 17 games with my cousin whose bachelor party I was on when I won Best Ball Mania 2. Going to go up to his place. He's having another kid. So we're going to watch the games with him, and hopefully I will take down a tournament watching the games with him again. Get some of that good luck run. I shared yesterday, I did a stream where I shared my finals teams. All those teams held on. They were like 99.9999% to do so. But as far as me, I will have, let me share my screen here. I will have 4 best ball finals tickets real quick. I'll show you those teams in case you missed it, but you could check out yesterday's stream for a longer one there. Right here. So I got a team in the 555 DK finals. It's this team plus Deontay Johnson plus Jameson Williams. Going to duke it out with 11 other teams for $250,000 up top. Thrilling, Stoked to have a Mahomes, Kelsey, McKinnon stack against a terrible Broncos team. Hopefully they've quit. Also going to have this team. Me and 2 other people will be duking it out for $50K up top in the DK 2K. Pretty beast team. Thrilled to make the finals of that 72-person contest. Also got this team in the big dog for my underdog fam. Let's open this picture so you guys can actually see it. Open image, a new tab. Shout out Pat Kareem. It's an Allen T-Law stack. We got Barkley, Singletary, a dead Pierce, Carter. Brian Robinson against the Browns, a smash spot. Darren Johnson, probably a 0. Gabe Davis, Kirk, Olave, maybe. Hamstring. Gage, Gallup, and then the Jones bros with Andrews and Kittle. And then we got this puppy team. It's a Kirk Tua. Duking it out for $75K up top. We got Saquon, C-Pat, Singletary, Hassan Haskins playing on Thursday Night Football with Derrick Henry probably getting sat. So great leverage there. Jefferson, Tyreek, Elijah, Hopkins, DJ Chark, David Bell, Curtis Samuel, DPJ with Waller, Hawkins, and Hurts. Very complete team. Tua probably not playing with a concussion, but anyways, those are my sweats for week 17. We'll get more about those later. Francisco, you can calculate that yourself. Add up the prizes, divide by 470, the size of the finals. So I don't know off the top of my head. I didn't do the math. I didn't make the BBM3 finals. The back-to-back dream is dead, but that's how you would do it. Good luck, man. So, anyways, let's talk about structure to begin today. I see a lot of people saying things like, hey, the structure is not fair. You didn't reward the best teams. It's not fair. I could not disagree more. What is fair? Is fair what would have made you win the contest? No. I think people need to realize, and I realize this is not the dream being sold, but when you're playing a contest like Bestball Mania 3, which had something like 470,000 teams in it, you are probably not going to win. Doesn't matter if you were the best drafter in the world, you're very unlikely to win, right? This is a lottery style Bestball contest. We need to realize the format we're playing here. No excuses if you didn't know the rules. No excuses if that's not what you're searching for. If you want to guarantee some cash and you think you're so good, go play some cash games or something. Go do some of that. But, I see people saying things like, well, I wish the format was more like the FFPC does it, which for those who are unfamiliar, the FFPC is a high stakes site, which they have a main event. It's 2K buy-in. And if you make the finals there, what happens is they start you with your season average is where you start in the finals. So whatever you averaged over the season is your points. And then it's a cumulative final. So what do you score week 15, 16, 17? Whoever scores the most points there added to their cumulative start is who will be the winner. Now, I think that's all fine for the FFPC. I got no problems with it. I like having different structures. However, people trying to change BBM3 into that, I think, are just wrong. First off, almost 99.99% of people that got into fantasy football started off with a format just like Underdog does it, just like DraftKings does it, where it is a normal draft, and then the scores get wiped clean. You got the quarterfinals, you got the semifinals, you got the finals. If your team is spiky, and some weeks you can score 200, and some weeks it scores 100, tough shit. Your team's eliminated, right? So people complaining about format. My problem with it is usually to them, they're just being results oriented. They're thinking about what would have helped them this year, and they're complaining. Same thing with the people. It's the same exact thing with the people who are like, oh, I bet the over on this guy and then he got hurt. Refund me, DraftKings. Give me a break. You're gambling. You know the rules. DraftKings is not conspiring against you to try to make you lose money. So, I think there's rooms for these other formats, but let's talk about why I think it's unlikely Underdog does it and why I don't like it. A, you're much more likely to open the app if the scores wipe clean each week. That's the beauty of the format is you can get lucky. You can get in a low-scoring pod. That's part of the game, right? You want that. You can get unlucky. You can get in a really high-scoring pod. Tough. But if the scores don't get wiped clean each week, pretty early like your sweat is dead or not, and I want the sweat to keep being alive. So yeah, if your team's eliminated, okay, you got no sweat. I got no sweat in BBM3. I was eliminated, right? Would I have had a sweat if my team was not? Maybe. But the main event, I've not opened the main event because I know I have no chance of winning it. And Underdog probably knows, rightly so, that people are not opening the app if they know that they don't have a sweat. People, who's going to be opening the app a lot this week? Everyone who made the finals. Yeah, man, enjoy the chaos. Quit your complaining, right? They can experiment with the puppy, whatever, but I'm not a fan of a lot of people basically just complaining, like people who are saying things like, well, I think you should have started, I think instead of doing Instead of doing random pods, it's too much randomness. You're playing a lottery contest. What the fuck are you talking about, right? There's too much. Instead of doing that, they should have a cut line. Top 10% cut line advances. I think that's an awful format. That would be so many overlapping players. Almost every single team would have George Kittle, would have Cam Akers on it, would have Tyler Higbee on it now, right? That's a bad format, in my opinion. Part of the fun is the randomness. I advanced last year and won the contest with my tight ends being Mike Gesicki and Noah Fant. They did pretty much nothing weeks 15 and 16. Remember, Mark Andrews smashed. So either I dodged Mark Andrews' teams, or more likely my team was just so strong it was able to advance. And then I had massive leverage week 17. If you got a team to the BBM3 finals and it doesn't have TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, you have probably massive, Evan Ingram, the tight ends that did well, you probably have massive leverage in the week 17 finals where you're facing 470 people. So, I wish people wouldn't be so results oriented with their complaining. People just like to complain too, and just realize what game you're playing. There's room for different formats. But, I think we also need to realize that a lot of people are, a small niche of people on Twitter, they do their dynasty leagues, they do their super flex formats, they do, that's not appealing to the masses generally, right? And honestly, the people who, in my opinion, have just not thought this out enough or not smart enough to think about it, who are saying stuff like, oh, I'm not playing next year because Underdog is colluding against me. Jesus, they're like, oh, I think, someone on Twitter today was like, I think I think Underdog is trying to rig the brackets so that their top influencers make the finals. That is a joke, right? Pete Overzet, friend of the channel, is probably the top influencer Underdog has as far as, a best ball guy. He didn't make the finals in Best Ball Mania 3. They had no incentive to collude to help me win last year. I was a nobody. Probably still am, but I even more of a nobody, had 100 followers back then. I was a no one. They're not colluding in Best Ball, right? This is a serious company. So had to get that off my chest. I really don't like this complaining about like, oh, I wish they did this. I wish they paid more money to the teams that scored the most in the regular season. I saw this discussion. This is one of my least favorite. I disagree. Obviously, I like Drafters. Drafters has a room in Best Ball. I play on Drafters. Shout out Drafters. If you want to play a format that just rewards whoever scores the most points in the regular season, stick to Drafters, right? There's room for that. In my opinion, and I see a lot of people say that is the most skilled format. I could not disagree more. I think it's less strategic to play these total point formats where really it's, did you select the players who score the most points? And I think it's very arguable. There's little things you can do strategically for that. Did you draft Josh Jacobs versus another guy in that round? Was that really a skilled selection that you knew Josh Jacobs was going to do what he did in the regular season? I would argue no. And honestly, on Drafters, love the format, but I haven't had a sweat there for, almost the whole year. You very quickly separate who is actually in the money. So, like, rather than a bunch of people having a sweat, it's like, 20 people. But, I don't think it's that skilled to draft the highest scoring team. Did your team stay healthy? Is that so skilled of you that you were lucky to have a healthy team? No, not at all. That's not skill. I think for formats like Best Ball Mania 3, where you have playoff weeks, there's a lot of strategy that goes around that. Do you want to select players you think might be low advance rate who could do well in the finals? I think there's strategic things you can do that. Some people disagree. I disagree with them, and I've mentioned those before. There's, do you want to prioritize week 17 stacks? I don't even agree with this. I don't think a rewards player takes more because you can have a player take that you think a player is going to score the most points week 17. That's a player take. That's applicable to Underdog. Ron, appreciate the dono, bro. I'll take a look at the team at the end here, but we got some things to talk about. Let's get to some of these comments here. Tyler, thanks for this question. And I'm going to do a post about this on Twitter and we'll review it on stream. But Tyler asks, if I have a budget of like $2,000 to $3,000 for Bestball, do you think it's better to draft a few DK 555s or just put the whole budget into cheaper contests like Bestball Mania or the DK Mid League? Good luck in the finals this week. Now, I don't think this is what the platforms want to hear, but I'll give my take on it. If your goal is to win money, significant money, I would argue, and let's use an even easier example. Let's say you have $250 to spend on fantasy football. I think that's a more realistic budget that a lot of, 2 to 3K is a pretty significant budget. I think $250 is it's a big investment for some, but it's a realistic investment. If you have $250 and you want to win significant money and your choices are to draft 10 Best Ball Mania 3 teams or draft one big dog for $250, you should draft the one big dog. Mathematically, you are much more likely to win the $100,000 in the big dog than you are to make money in the Best Ball Mania 3s, right? Just pure math. Even with 10 bullets versus the one, you're mathematically more likely to make the money in the big dog. Now, you're also more likely to not get any money back. If you don't make the playoffs, you lose the $250. On underdog, let's say you make the playoffs on 2 of your 10 teams. Well, then you made back whatever, $70 on your $250. However, pure money is not what everyone necessarily cares about. One, if you want the max amount of sweat, the max amount of looking at different teams, seeing what could happen, basically entertainment. Then you obviously want to do more teams in the lottery style contests. Obviously, whoever wins Best Ball Mania 3 is not the best fantasy football player in the world. I was not the best fantasy football player in the world just because I won Best Ball Mania 2. Do I think I'm good? Yes. Do I think if you regularly crush high stakes Best Ball, you're probably closer to really strong? Yes. Am I doing good at the high stakes this year? Yes. Have I done good in the past? Yes. That doesn't mean I'm the best. I think I am good at it, though. So, if your goal is to make money, you're better off investing that in higher stakes, smaller fields. If your goal is to have fun, then you should do some of the lottery style contests. And realistically, many people can probably do both if you're watching this. You could probably do one big dog, 5 Best Ball Mania 4s or whatever. Sure. And some people like to do this, and to go back on this comment, one thing I want to say is you got to know yourself. If you know you have an addictive personality, if you know you have bad impulse control, and that you could not stop after one big dog and you would do another and you would do another. Oh shit. All of a sudden you did 10 big dogs, $2,500. Well, then maybe you should stick to the $5 puppies where even if you get degenerate, scratch your itch, you're not investing that much money. So know yourself is my recommendation there. Yeah, I think I love that underdog experiments and tries new things. What I fear is that they would cave to a minority of people who complain, because this is the problem with every review system. If you look at things like Yelp, if you look at things like Google reviews, people are rarely incentivized to make a comment when they like something. So the amount of people taking to Twitter and being like, I really like how underdogs best ball structure is, or best ball contests are structured, is very minority. The amount of people who either have tinfoil hats on and think they're being included against, or they didn't win this year and they thought they were going to, or whatever, they're going to be complaining. And it's not that many people is my point. So I just hope that they're not making sweeping changes to things that honestly I think is wrong. That's fine. No, nothing is dead in a best ball final. There you go, Kyle. I mean, it's flat bang. It was easier to make the big dogs finals for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely be doing some high stakes. I'm one of the few people who puts out high stakes best ball content. So if you like seeing that, obviously I was afforded to splash around more this year, but I'll definitely be doing some next year. Yeah, it's always the loudest people who aren't happy. Exactly. Agreed. And the reality is, I'm sorry, but if you're someone who did one Best Ball Mania 3 team and you're bitching on Twitter, you're not moving the needle. You can be replaced. So the people that really the people that like get the heaviest eye roll from me, just an instant mute so I don't have to read these driveling opinions, is I'm not going to play next year because you did this. Also, like people complain about the UI on Underdog. Give me a break. I got 4 finals teams, addressed that in the beginning. I did a video on them yesterday. You can check them out. So just wanted to say that about format and get my opinion out there. Obviously I have a voice in the best ball space. Happy to see that other people that have a voice in the best ball space, mainly the Spike Week bros, seem to be agreeing with me about how this is what makes it fun, honestly, is these playoff weeks. The score is wiped clean, and I promise you, Underdog likes that. The amount of people that are going to open their app if they know their sweat is dead late is less and less. So it's good from a company perspective, too. Yeah, the UI on Underdog is awesome for drafting. Some people are complaining because it's their first time, and I guess they just didn't know. Like, the people complaining like this also elicits a heavy eye roll for me. Is Underdog shows the price of a min cash, and then they pay out on advance. So they're trying to get money back in people's hands as quick as possible, which generally is what people would like. However, then in the semifinals, it shows the price of a min cash, but it doesn't show the difference, what they already paid you out. So some people complain and they're like, I thought I was going to get more. On DraftKings, they show you the expected value of a ticket. So I cannot imagine what DraftKings support is like. I thought I was going to get $2,000 for making the finals in the DK Millie, and I only got $50 or whatever the min cash is there. Complain less, guys. Do the research, understand the rules more. Yeah, I don't agree that the EV is better on other sites necessarily. I've talked about this before. Obviously, you're more likely to run into a pure fish on a site like DraftKings. However, you can't plan for that. So if you're talking about the Millie Maker fields, you cannot plan to be with the dude who's going to take Mac Jones in the first round. And honestly, if that's what it takes to win, I don't want that. All right. Enough about that. Had to get that rant off my chest. Let's jump into reviewing week 16. What happened this week, the craziness of it. And then we'll jump into week 17. So, something I've just been spitballing here with myself is taking note which teams play on Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football games in general are lower scoring games because the teams have shorter rest. That's just what happens. Now, obviously, can it be high scoring Thursday night game? Yes, it can. It also seems that the NFL structures the worst teams that they think at least will be here. But week 16 got off to a bang with Evan Ingram, which, on a half-point PPR site, I put this tweet out like, sorry to burst your bubble, but Evan Ingram is probably not going to be the reason you advance. He didn't score a touchdown. You need touchdowns in half-point PPR. So this game, not that meaningful. A lot of people had Trevor Stacks. The Zay Jones chalk fell apart. The Ravens-Falcons game, nothing really moved the needle here. Panthers-Lions, those who had Deontay Foreman got a huge performance. Those who had Jared Goff, maybe with their Jalen Hurts teams, that's a team I almost got through, got a huge performance. DJ Chark had an okay game. Chiefs, Seahawks, McKinnon did it again. Mahomes did okay. Kelsey did okay, more so on more so on PPR. Most of the Seahawks pieces fell apart other than Ken Walker. Saints Browns, Taysom Hill got a touchdown, so that's big for half-point PPR. He basically, he scored a little bit less than Ingram, but basically matched it. All the Browns pieces sucked. Bengals Patriots, Burrow did great. T. Higgins did great. Dude, the Jacoby Myers slappies. I've been on record how I thought Jacoby Myers wasn't a great pick. I think he was fine. He was cheap, but the irony of Jacoby Myers scoring a touchdown in this game was not lost on me, because here's how he scored the touchdown for those who didn't see it. Mac Jones throws a Hail Mary. His guy, the ball either deflects off his guy's hand or his teammate pushes it. And then Jacoby Myers is just sitting there at the 1 yard line, catches the ball off of his teammate, and runs in this deflected Hail Mary. Also, Kendrick Bourne had a great game for PPR and half-point PPR. So Kendrick Bourne, who did nothing all year, all of a sudden was a great best ball pick. Ramondre Chalk also failed and fumbled at the one. Vikings Giants, the one dome game. You were happy to have Saquon. You were happy to have Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins continued to smash. Daniel Jones had an okay game. And TJ Hawkinson exploded. I think we're going to talk about, I'm going to have some people on this offseason to go through a whole draft, talk about the good process, the bad process picks. TJ Hawkinson, I think, goes two ways. I'll just share my thoughts on him real quick. I think he was bad process when he was on the Lions. I thought it was unlikely he would ever have these explosion games. He did have one explosion game when he was with the Lions, but that was when everyone was hurt from the Lions. On the other side, you could argue he was going right next to Mark Andrews in drafts last year. He was cheaper this year. He's a tight end. So almost always taking a mid-round tight end who could be a top guy, I think, is good process. I'm someone who cares about tight ends a lot, and tight ends were honestly the key to best ball this year in the lottery tournaments. The teams advancing are those who have TJ Hawkinson. They have George Kittle. They have, what's his face from the Rams? Tyler Higbee. So we'll go further in there, but Vikings going to be well represented in the finals. Bills Bears, good game from James Cook, fine game from Josh Allen, okay game from Dawson Knox. Everyone else didn't really do much here. But, Bills get the Bengals next week. Texans Titans. Don't think really anyone did much in this game. Derrick Henry had an okay game, but now he is likely to sit the game on Thursday Night Football against the Jags. Oh, no. He doesn't get the Jags. Who's he get this week? He gets the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. I know these Week 17 matchups. So I think the Cowboys are a terrible matchup for Derrick Henry. B, the Titans have no incentive to play a single player in Week 17, but we'll get to Week 17 soon. Commanders, 49ers, George Kittle explosion spot. CMC, meh. Pretty much. Terry McLaurin scored a touchdown. Brian Robinson, meh. Cowboys, Eagles, CeeDee Lamb explosion. Dak had a good game. A.J. Brown almost had a big game. He had a fine game. Devonta Smith, a blow-up game still. I think the Cowboys are maybe not as big of a threat, though, in the playoffs. Steelers, Raiders, pretty big nothing burger. Packers, Dolphins. Christian Watson got hurt. I thought he had one of the best matchups Week 17 against the Vikings, so something to monitor. Tua, concussed, probably not playing this week. Tyreek and Waddle had good games. I think A.J. Dillon scored a touchdown, and Aaron Jones did nothing. Rams explosion, man. This was a real sweat. It's never easy. Broncos did, I think Jerry Jeudy did fine. Bucks, Cardinals. Fournette had an okay game. Chargers, Colts. Not a lot here. So let's take a look at the Week 17 games. Get some more of your comments. Yeah, I mean, that's just part of the game, you know? And that's why I want to go through the good process, whatever. But, someone like Cam Akers, I could argue if you thought he did have a ceiling. Cam Akers was a bad pick for advancement purposes, but, you know, if he's not like a guy who's incapable of scoring touchdowns, he's a low advance rate, high ceiling player. So, like, I think you can think through those situations. Me too, for my big dog team. All right, week 17. These are the games that are going to decide who are the best ball champions this year. We start off with a bang with Cowboys Titans. The Titans and the Jags have almost no incentive to play their players this year. The reason is the Titans and the Jags meet week 18, and whoever wins that game will win the division. Now, the Titans almost assuredly will rest Derrick Henry. I think he's even banged up. It's a short week. Really, they shouldn't play him. The Jags are a little bit less likely to sit their players because I think technically they could still make the playoffs as a wild card if they win this week and lose the next week, if a lot of other stuff breaks their way. But still, even what I think is likely to happen to the Jags is, like, let's say the Jags are up 10 in the fourth or something or whatever. I think it's more likely they would pull their starters quick. Pull ETN, pull the guys they know they can't replace. And honestly, the Jags should beat the Titans week 18. So I want to be fooling around with injuries against the Texans if I'm the Jags. Give my team a mini bye. Got to be stoked for probably every Cowboys piece you made to the finals, but especially the Titans, who, again, probably going to rest a bunch of guys. They have a bad defense as is, especially against the pass, but they're gonna rest people. So great to Dak pieces, great to CD Lamb. Michael Gallup could get there. Really, this could be a blowout. But again, Thursday Night Football, typically a little bit sloppier. Cardinals Falcons is a hard one where we have Desmond Ridder and TJ McSorley. I don't remember his first name right now. But, in the offseason, I probably thought this one was going to be a smash. I had a lot of Hollywood and whatnot. It's looking more like you like James Conner for this game. You like, you could still get a blow-up spot from Hopkins. He had 10 targets last week, did nothing with them. But it's just hard with the Desmond Ridder offense. Algier probably has a good spot. But this game could easily be low scoring with the quarterbacks at home here. Dolphins-Patriots, probably going to see Teddy Bridgewater, where Tua looks like he got concussed again and the team missed it. The Dolphins have really mismanaged. Their Tua this year. He was clearly concussed against the Bills, and they wanted to win that game, which they did early in the season. I thought that was really bad practice, and then they got more concussions. So really hoping Tua is okay. I don't agree he needs to sit the whole year, but I don't think he'll play this week. So probably Teddy Bridgewater. A bit of a knockdown to the Dolphins pieces because of that. The Patriots, a good matchup for Mondre, a beatable defense. So decent spot for Patriots pieces, but they're just not that good of a team. Could you really have said Akers was high upside going into week 16? That's not really when it matters. Doesn't really matter what you think week 16. What I could definitely have said going into the season is I think Cam Akers is a low advance rate player because I think he's unlikely to outscore the players around him. However, I still think he has an individual weekly ceiling where he could score 2 touchdowns. That argument I can get behind. And I would argue you should be, if you're strictly going through your best ball drafts for large field tournaments, and you're thinking, this guy's a high advance rate player, this guy's a high advance rate player, and you're only putting those guys on your team, well, then, yeah, you're going to advance a lot if you're right. But you might miss some of these guys who could be leverage in the playoff weeks. So it doesn't really matter what you thought week 16. Did I think he could score 3 touchdowns? Probably not right there. But anyways, Saints Eagles. Jalen Hurts says he's pushing to play. I think this is a smash spot for AJ Brown if he gets back, where the Saints are going to try to man cover him with what's his face, Marshawn Lattimore, and he'll just dust him. Obviously, Devonta Smith still in a good spot. Saints pieces, yeah, maybe Taysom Hill. Colts Giants. The Colts D has got a good D line, but you just saw them get wore down against the Chargers last night, who didn't really play that well. So I think you got to be real excited for Saquon, where, Nick Foles just turning the ball over left and right. And so if they're doing that again against the Giants and Saquon, the Giants are just getting more opportunity, just wheels up for Saquon. And he's on my 250K live team, so rooting for him. Panthers Bucks. This is a game going into the season. I thought the Bucks would maybe just score a lot on the Panthers. At this point, though, it's probably going to be a little bit of a back and forth affair. This is a playoff type game where the Panthers are still live for the playoffs. If they win this game, the Bucks obviously need to win to ensure that doesn't happen. So DJ Moore has been looking good with the Panthers. Got to feel good about him. I think he's still feeling good about Bucks pieces. Fournette said he has a Liz Frank. I put a tweet out about how we in fantasy football know very little about what injuries players are going through. So it's very common. We'll look at a player and be like, wow, he looks terrible. And we just literally have no idea that they have an injury. And then they ball out the next year when they're healthier. That's very common. So, older players, we probably give a little less benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying Fournette is a guy who I'm going to be like, wow, I forgive him looking terrible. I'm going to draft him a lot now. But anyone young who's like that, or, like Hopkins, we thought hit an age cliff. Now maybe he did PEDs, whatever. But decent spot for Bucks pieces. Broncos Chiefs, you got to be stoked for the Chiefs pieces against a Broncos team that just allowed 50 points against the fucking Rams and Baker Mayfield. Now, maybe the Broncos are going to be extra motivated against the Chiefs here because it's a division team. But for the sake of my pockets, I'm hoping Mahomes, Kelsey, McKinnon blow up on the Chiefs. I'm on the Broncos. I think you got to feel decent about Jerry Jeudy too, who had a good game against the Chiefs last time and has been doing well. Bears Lions. I've seen some people try to be like, who would have thought Bears Lions is the piece you want going into the year? I did think this is a game you would maybe want going into the year because I thought it was likely that these teams could have two bad defenses. So obviously you're excited for any Fields teams you got through. You're excited for every Lions piece. Goff could totally go for 30 plus. This is a blow up spot for the Lions pieces for sure. I think you're excited for Montgomery. I think you're excited for Khalil Herbert, who's back. Maybe Cole Kmet had a good game last week. Last time they played. So wheels up in the dome for the Lions pieces. Commanders Browns, stoked for Brian Robinson and to a lesser extent Gibson, where the Browns are such an easy team to run on. Watson's been awful. Very bad for the Browns. However, probably excited for Njoku against the Commanders, who just allowed 2 touchdowns against Kittle. Njoku, a good piece to get in. Jags Texans. The Texans have not been a great spot for passing offenses. So in theory, this is a better matchup for ETN than it is for Trevor and the pass catchers. However, the Texans are not a good team, so if you think you are better at passing the ball, your team's probably going to do that. Now, again, we don't know how much the Jags are going to play their starters this game. Maybe they'll observe what the Titans do and just copy them. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll say, hey, our guys are young. We can't just take a bye. That's not good for us. Who knows what they do? But if he plays a lot, obviously a good spot for ETN. I think you're excited for Jags pieces as one-offs where any of them could catch a touchdown. Obviously, you prefer lower ownership, so maybe more Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones. than Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. But, they could obviously get there. Texans pieces, I don't know. A Rex Burkhead piece, maybe. 49ers at Raiders. Smash spot for CMC. Smash spot for George Kittle. Good spot for Ayuk. So every Niners piece you're probably excited about. Raiders pieces, if you got them, Devontae Adams can do it in any game, theoretically. Same with Josh Jacobs. Jets, Seahawks. You got to be excited for your Jets pieces against the Seahawks D, where Mike White, I believe, is back. So Garrett Wilson is back. Hey, Michael Carter's out there. The Seahawks pieces, if DK Metcalf gets matched up with Sauce Gardner, probably not great for DK, but he has the ability to do it to any corner in the league. Good spot for Ken Walker as well against the Jets D. But, the Seahawks could totally get shut down by this Jets D. This could be a low-scoring game. Vikings-Packers, smash spot for Dalvin Cook. Great spot for Christian Watson if healthy, which we don't know if he is. And then, obviously you like Justin Jefferson on your team. You'll take an Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Rams-Chargers. I guess it's a great spot for Cam Akers. We'll see with this game. I think any Chargers piece you're excited for too, just because they're going to be lower owned other than Eckler. Steelers Ravens. For some reason, this game got flexed to, Sunday Night Football because technically it has playoff implications. I would have rather seen, I would have taken Dolphins Patriots. I would have taken the Lions are fighting for a playoff spot. The Jets and Seahawks are fighting for playoff spots. So not thrilled with Steelers Ravens Sunday Night Football, but whatever. I think Lamar is possibly he plays. I think the Ravens maybe locked up a playoff spot, so maybe they will rest him because of that. But I think it's possible he plays this game. And if so, hey, any Mark Andrews you get to the finals, you got to be a little excited about. Going to be lower owned. Steelers pieces are a stretch, but they're out there. Bills, Bengals. This is the game where if you're leading going into Monday Night Football, you're worried about. If you're trailing and you got these pieces, you're excited. Wheels up spot for every viable piece. So James Cook, Steph Diggs, Josh Allen, Dawson Knox, Gabe Davis, McKenzie even, Shakir played a little bit more, Singletary. Jamar Chase, Burrow, T. Higgins, a little bit less. Hayden Hurst might play. Joe Mixon, not as great spot for him. But however, decent spot for, the Bills are a team when they're facing a passing team like the Bengals, like the Dolphins. They want teams to run on them. So maybe it will be a Joe Mixon game. You saw this against the Dolphins. But when they're facing a team that they are not afraid of their pass, such as the Bears last week, they shut down the run. So maybe a good spot for Joe Mixon because of that. All right, that's the Week 17 game, guys. Let's get a Week 17 in the chat here. For those who don't know, I usually type the weeks to my friends group chat. And some of you guys have been commenting Week 17 back to me, or Week 16 or Week 15. Appreciate that, guys. That's fun. Let's get to some of these comments here. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Yep, mentioned that earlier, Geoff. Let's go, Eddie. Let's go. It's a tough game, man. Some would say it's justice, and you should have faded Derrick Henry. I'm on that side. Sorry, man. Yeah, mentioned this too, Geoff. They can still get the wild card, but it's unlikely. So we'll see. And they might have info by then. They might have info in the third quarter that they can't, depending on this Dolphins-Patriots game. Pacheco, don't think I have him on my team, so I'm Team McKinnon. Let's go, Ron. Let's look up how can the Jags make the wild card? So the Jags, okay, this site doesn't tell us it. It just says the Texas matchup doesn't matter, which is right. They've not really told us how they get the wild card. It's all right, bro. It's all right. I'm just saying. Some people like to just parrot what I already said. It's like, bro, I just said that. All right. If the Jaguars win, if the Jaguars lose. Yeah, so it looks like it's a 3% differential in winning or losing. So if they lose, or no, let's do if they win and then they lose. They are a 6% chance to make the playoffs if that happens. And how does that happen? Does it tell us? So it looks like they need the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. They need the Seahawks to beat the Jets. They need the Ravens to beat the Steelers. And then they need the Bills to beat the Patriots. And they need the Jets to beat the Dolphins. So that's their path to the wild card. They need this perfect run out. If they beat the Texans but lose to the Titans, they need Pats over Dolphins. They need Seahawks over Jets. They need Ravens over Steelers. They need Bills over Patriots, who possibly could be resting players. We don't know. They need Titans over Jags. They need Jets over Dolphins. The Bills actually, I think, interestingly, have a scenario week 18 where if they lose to the Bengals, I think, they have this choice. They can either beat the Patriots and then have to face the Dolphins, or they can lose to the Patriots and get to face the Patriots. So what would you do if you're Buffalo week 18 and you lose to the Bengals this week? Would you choose to face the Patriots or would you choose to face the Dolphins? So maybe the Bills would throw this game and be like, please, we'll see you in the playoffs, guys. So, the point is since the Patriots beating the Dolphins is one of what they need, and they're playing at the same time, they could have info in the third quarter. Like, what if the Patriots are losing by 20 at half? Well, then if just we switch that game, the Dolphins beat the Patriots, it doesn't matter. So they cannot make a wild card anymore. So they'll have some info at half, depending on how this game goes. Sure, there's room for all sorts of formats. I don't. I have some Jags pieces in a big dog, but primarily do not need those guys. So just going to reiterate, because I mentioned this at the beginning when, most people weren't watching. I'm going on a ski trip tomorrow. Going to go up to see my cousin Bert to go rock out for New Year's for the finals. So not sure what content I'll be getting going between, tomorrow and the 1st, but maybe I'll do a cabin stream or something if I feel like it after skiing. Probably will get you guys some content for the New Year's at least. But please remember to like and subscribe. Going to have a lot of off-season content. Okay. So we've talked about people bitching about structure. We've talked about the Week 16 and Week 17 matchups. I showed you guys my final sweats. Again, I did a video about that yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I'll show those again real quick. Totally fucked up this image. I also have Deontay Johnson and Jameson Williams on this team, which I think it's possible Jameson Williams plays more this week against the Bears because they're playing in a dome. So maybe they figured, hey, they got to ramp Jameson Williams up. And the Lions, let's go back to this playoff simulator. I like how the New York Times does it. But I don't want just the Jags. How do I see the other teams? Well, let's select a team. Come on, guys. Oh, Detroit. All right. The Lions are now 23% to make it. Yeah, he might play. I saw a little blurb that said that if he does play, he's less likely to run. So the 3 rushing touchdowns, I don't know about that. I'll also here, let me go over my team that won Bestball Mania 3 last year and walk you through my emotions. Because why not? Right? It's the anniversary almost. So you go to results. You go to $1 million for winnings. Sticks out. And here is my team. So here's how my team went last year, and I'll walk you through the emotions. I was in Key West for my cousin's bachelor party with my hometown lads. We started off the day in the house, watched the morning games. Josh Allen scored 2 rushing touchdowns against the Falcons. And and supported no pass catchers, where he had 120 yards passing and 3 interceptions, but he had 81 and 2 on the ground against the Falcons. So Josh Allen did it on the ground. Also in the morning slate of games was Jamar Chase, where basically after Jamar Chase went for 50 points in the morning games, if you didn't have him, you weren't winning the contest. So it was nice to be like, holy shit, I could win. Also was nice is Joe Burrow obviously scored a lot of points. I didn't have Joe Burrow, but Josh Allen at least got there on the ground. The rest of the morning game guys were Damian Harris and JT, I believe, who Damian Harris was like balling out and then got hurt. And so Ramondre finished the game. JT did like a fine game, 101. And then my other morning guys were Boyd. And then we got to the afternoon games where we went to a bar, had some drinks, had some apps, sweated the games. When it started to feel real was when Rashad Penny and Amon-Ra St. Brown, those were my 2 guys in the afternoon games who were like trading off a ton of points. It was like, holy shit, Rashad Penny, holy shit, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like they were just going back and forth scoring at will. And so that's when I was like, oh my God, this is like real. Like I'm not only leading, I'm leading by quite a bit. And then the cherry on top was the Broncos were getting like blown out by the Chargers, and in garbage time to end the game, Drew Lock threw a touchdown to Noah Fant to just give me a huge lead on the field, where like you can see I scored 202 almost. This guy scored 185. And, had some overlapping players, had Chase and Amon-Ra, had Andrews, had Singletary and Mixon, but just couldn't keep up with me having the Noah Fant hammer. And that's what it's going to be next week, guys. Tight ends are very important in best ball, If I don't get these 18 points from Fant and I have to drop down to, I think it's a 7 burger, this help box always is so annoying. I think he got 7 points. Yeah. So if I have to drop 11 points, I still win, but it's closer. That would drop me to 190. That's not a comfortable sweat. Because remember, I still had to fade the nighttime games, which was Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. And Devontae Adams had a great game. We'll see. The guy in third had Devontae Adams. He had 11, 136, and 1. I had to fade them, and then I had to fade the Monday night game, which was Pitt versus Browns. And that year, Nick Chubb was big chalk because he was everywhere. And the winner of the DK Millie actually got there because he had Najee Harris. Pete Overzet was in the finals, for those who don't know. This team was streamed, shared with Eric. They streamed this team, so it's kind of cool that they streamed it. And they got 8th in the contest, so really awesome performance. They had a 0 running back team with Dak and Mac. They had Penny as well, Pollard, Madison, and Sony Michel. The Sony Michel guy got traded. They had Chase as well, so they felt live. They had Devontae. I think it's just, Kyle Pitts got hurt in that game too. So tough break there, but it just looks like they didn't have the points at like flex and wide receiver 3. So like strong team though. Yeah, that is wild. So that's how I won Best Ball Mania 2 last year. It was crazy. I went through the Week 17 game, so kind of answered this already. Could be. He's going to be pretty high owned. Yeah, it was crazy. No. Just kidding. That's just the fun thing is, even in like the most meaningless games, as far as like score, like, that the Rams Broncos game this week on Christmas was one of the biggest sweats for me, where I had this team here where I'm needing to fade Baker Mayfield to score 23 points basically. And so every scoring opportunity, there's going to be people out there like fuck, don't score. Up, like the Rams were up 50, and other people would be like Baker. It's just people are going to be rooting on other sides of the coin. It's fun. Let's pull up going to help out the Dono crowd. Thank you, Ron, again, man. Appreciate the support. Let's pull up Ron's team to pull it out here. Forget your name on Twitter. Ron Navy. DM it to me, Ron. Don't think you did. I know you tagged me, but when did you tag me? Ron, if you're still out there, bro, tell me your Twitter name. Oh, here we go. Retired Navy man. So Ron's got a Puppy 3 team, which, hey, if you got a Puppy team, the team you would like to make the finals is a Puppy 3 team, because that's 200K up top. So an awesome sweat. I made the Puppy 1 finals. That's 75K. Obviously a good sweat, but not 200K. So you got Burrow and Lawrence. You did something weird where you did 3 quarterbacks after having Lance and Burrow, but it's looking good now. You got CMC, you got ETN against the Texans, you got Ramondre, you got Foreman. Spiller's probably a 0, so solid group of running backs. How these wide receivers looking? You got Higgins, you got Metcalf, you got Watson, who again, you love him if he's playing. You just got to hope he's playing. Osborne for the bringback. Robbie Anderson, probably a 0. Zay for the stack. Westbrook Akine, probably a 0. And then you got a really solid tight end group where you could even be using 2 scores here. So solid team, Ron. Good luck, bro. Take down that 200K. We'll have you on the channel then to talk it out. Let's get to these last comments. Yeah, you were sweating him for the Superflex. The Akers explosion. Tough, man. Tough, Eddie. I do, Omar, and you can look this up. You can look up the Hayden Winks puts out an article every week about the ownership of your players. So just off the top of my head, I'll spitball for you. Taylor was chalky. Damian Harris was chalky. Rashad Penny was decently owned, but not like, I think Penny was like 10%. Chase was only like 7%, maybe only facing 10 Chase teams out of 160 teams, because if you remember, T. Higgins had like a 50-point game week 16. Boyd, decently chalky. Kirk, well owned. Cooper, not that owned. Claypool, not that owned. Fant and Gesicki were both 5%. So my tight ends were not the reason I made the finals. No. I think Best Ball Resurrection is totally different. But I really didn't do that much Best Ball Resurrection. I was kind of burnt out. All right, guys. So to recap today, we talked about format. We talked about week 16 matchups, week 17 matchups. If you're catching the stream late, I reviewed my week 17 sweats. I told you guys I'm going to be going on a ski trip tomorrow, so not going to be doing some content for a second probably. If you did make a finals and you played DFS, what I did last year is I only built DFS lineups using my best ball players. I'm not trying to anti-sweat myself. Totally. Akers drawn live to be Rashad Penny from last year. Yes, but the cost is obviously different. I had a thought of someone else like that too, who was cheap. I can't remember now though. But hey guys, thanks for the support. Really appreciate all the kind comments. If you could help me out and drop a comment down in the YouTube comments after the stream ends, helps the algorithm, helps other people find the channel. Really appreciate all likes and any subscriptions you can give me there. I do have teams in the finals. I got 4 teams in different finals. None in Best Ball Mania 3 though. Reviewed that a lot. But really appreciate that. Once this stream ends, just refresh it and drop a comment for the algorithm. You can just write for the algo, whatever. Who cares? Good luck to everyone. If you made the Best Ball Mania 3 finals and you win the contest, would love to have you on my channel. Just reach out. Good luck, guys. Good luck to me. Great year, Best Ball. Great year, Best Ball next year to look forward to. We'll see you soon. Good luck, everybody. Peace.